But it is a weapon that the devil and the watchers have given to their children in our generation so that they can utilize this collective effervescence to move people's emotional states, to charge them in a direction that they want people to be charged in. Good morning, Trinity International. Thank you for joining me in our online Sunday morning broadcast. I am grateful to all of you for what you do for this part of God's kingdom, our ministry. May God bless you. Your tithe and offerings are blessed by the Lord as you help us to do God's work. Thank you. Beloved, I'm sharing and teaching with you to you the concept of the illusionary matrix world that we live in and how we can break the matrix code so our spirits can escape the matrix, become independent of this matrix, have connection with the kingdom of God. I gave you a clue last week concerning the pineal gland. Because of what's happening right now in the world, I wanted to take a break from that series of teachings. I'll continue next week as the Lord leads. But I didn't want people to get pulled in and sucked in by events that are happening in the world. So I want to start by talking to you about a sociological term. It's now described as more scientific. It's called collective effervescence. And I'm going to describe to you what it actually is. Collective effervescence is a sociological concept, first described by Emile Durkheim, referring to the intense emotional energy and sense of unity that arises when a group of people share a common focus, purpose, or ritual. This shared experience can lead to heightened emotions, a feeling of oneness with the group, and a sense of awe or even transcendence. It fosters social cohesion, strengthens collective identity, and can create a powerful emotional charge that binds individuals together as seen in gatherings like concerts, sporting events, and protests. I think with that description, you are able to understand what it actually means. You will see collective effervescence in churches where they share a common goal to worship God, and there's an emotional energy and excitement and that sort of thing. You'll see it in football matches, in all sorts of sporting events. But it is a weapon that the devil and the watchers have given to their children, the Edomites, the Eliods, in our generation, so that they can utilize this collective effervescence to manipulate the material world in which we live, to move people's emotional states, to charge them in a direction that they want people to be charged in. Now, just as an example, on a smaller scale to what I'm talking about, The year that we opened our ministry was 1999. During the course of that year and the year following, we had a number of people that came into the ministry offering their support. And they assumed some leadership roles. Many of them were involved in the praise and worship, in setting up the sound for our Sunday morning services. And we used to have services in a tent when we started off. And during the course of the fellowship with us, God gave me a vision. He gave Nash a vision. And together we knew where the Lord was taking us. We even had a sort of prophetic word from demons that told us what God wants to use us for. We also had a personal prophetic utterance from God Himself into our spirits, and I shared that with you. So we knew where we were heading. We knew the agenda of God and what we needed to do to stay in Him. But there were few amongst that group of people that were heavily involved in the ministry, helping. They wanted to move the ministry in a different direction. They had a different plan that were not gelling with what we were trying to do. So they used to gather together in secret and have meetings. And at those meetings they used to discuss, Nash and I. They were starting to plot. And because their plot failed, they became very discontent. They became emotionally charged by joining each other and having these discussions. And so it built up that energy amongst them, that collective effervescence that they started to have. And because they couldn't push me out, they came against me. One Sunday morning, because they knew how heavily our ministry, or they were invested in our ministry and our Sunday morning service, one Sunday they just did not show up to church. There was no instruments, there was no musicians, there was no backup singers, there was nothing that we could have a decent Sunday morning service with. We went back to the days of Jesus, if I could use that term. And we had Pastor Morgan, one of my elders at that time, took the stage without music, a cappella. He started to lead the praise and worship. And we went through that phase. It was painful. But when these people left our ministry, that effervescence that they had, that burst of energy, it dissipated. They didn't have any common agenda anymore. So because that energy dissipated, they all split ways and they gone into different directions. And today they don't even, from what I know, haven't even communicated or don't have contact with each other. So they only came together because they had a common interest, common goal. They were energized by it. So just giving you an example of, even in your workplace, you'll have these people who don't like you for whatever reason, and they have a collective effervescence amongst themselves. And that burst of energy comes against you. Now the devil has used this as a weapon. And because this weapon is so active repeatedly, I wanted to bring it to your attention so you don't fall into the trap that the devil lays for you. Now, when an organization has members that are no longer energized, that are losing interest, that don't have that effervescence anymore, that bubble, the organization generally tries to cause an event, create an event, create something that brings an excitement to that group of people where they have a common interest. And many organizations have like fundraisers or some kind of event where they all get involved. And this is what most people do in churches, where they don't have much substance that comes from the pulpit. Because people come and listen, and when they leave, they learn nothing new, nothing invested in their souls and spirits. And so, to keep the people moving, they have to involve the people into different collective projects so that they have a common interest, a common goal, and there's an effervescence among themselves. And so, this is the reason, this is the method in which organizations operate. Now, you see, over the years, I could have done that. But God didn't want me to do that. I am not here in this world for God to create a fake excitement that is temporary. I am here to educate, to teach, to fill your spirits, to grow the spirit of a man. And most times, you cannot hold people together unless you create an event where all of the interests are focused and aligned. So I hope you're getting the imagery of what I'm trying to paint for you. Now, if we go back to the time of Jesus, now remember I told you that I taught you about the watchers. They had children, the Nephilim. The Nephilim's children are Eliods. And one of those, the line of the Eliods, are Edomites. Now, they had a problem, these Edomites, when Jesus was walking amongst them. They used to follow the teachers of the time, the Sanhedrin, the temple leaders, the synagogue priests. They used to follow them. And when Jesus showed up, the people started to lose interest in their leaders in the synagogue. The interest, the effervescence amongst them collectively towards the temple and all these religious leaders were falling away. And they needed to create an event. They needed to create an opportunity, a common interest opportunity, so that the people once again don't fall away, they unite against Christ. And Jesus used that because he knew what the agenda, and he used that so that they can be motivated to ask to crucify him, because that was Jesus' goal. Now, when they went to crucify him, you remember 1 week before that they were shouting, Hosanna, Hosanna, and the new king is here. And then the Pharisees, the same Edomite, Eliot people, amongst all the other people, in order to create a unison of effervescence among the crowd, they started to point out that Jesus was fake. Why? What made him fake? Because he was promised to save the nation of Israel, and he was prepared to die. So he was no longer a hero to them. He became more like, in their eyes, a letdown. And so if you convince everybody that what a letdown this man is, he promised us the world of freedom from the Romans. And so they convinced the crowd. So much so there was a bubble, effervescence among them, crying out. And when they were asked who must be released in the Passover, and they asked for Barabbas, the murderer. And they were so highly motivated and emotionally highly strung that they asked for Jesus to be crucified. So we see how collective effervescence has played out throughout history. This has been the the modus operandi of the watchers and their grandchildren, the Eliots, for centuries. It happened to Moses when he went up to the mountain and he didn't come down for such a long time. The people amongst themselves, inspired by demonic forces within them, for sure, they all sang out with one voice. So much so that they rebelled together collectively. There was an excitement to rebel against God, against Moses. They built a calf out of all the jewelry they had. And so the devil uses this constantly. Now in the world today, we're looking contemporary world now. The devil has not moved away from this modus operandi. He uses factions against each other. In politics, he got, in the United States, red versus blue, Republicans versus Democrats. All around the world, you will get people who are in nationalists like Republicans all over the world. And you'll get opposition to that. And so you get, in South Africa, you got black versus white. Everywhere you'll see. And we heard the Dutch banker that was murdered mercilessly for exposing their agenda. He says that all is a show. They manufacture red versus blue. All are part of one team. They make it look like there's an enemy to foster emotional charge against. And so this is how they've been operating to create an emotional high amongst a group of people. So what they do is, if they want to ignite a group of people, let's say the black people, against the rest of the world that are non-black, they'll make the non-black or white people kill an innocent or so-called black man. So what does that do? That makes your blood boil. How can these people do that? And so it is a play. It is a manipulation that they created to create an uprising in you. They did that in South Africa's apartheid. They crippled all the other races in this country. And it came to a point where there was a push, a bubble, an effervescence to remove this oppressive government. And when it came, the people came together and they voted and it was like an excitement. But once that thing is gone, they have to keep creating different divisions, different scenarios where one group is effervescent against the other group. And so they do that on a regular basis to keep the world going in the direction that they choose. And as long as people are motivated and their eyes are focused on one thing, they don't see what's happening in the background, because the background is where the real action is happening. They have to do secretly things, but they got to keep the people's attention on something. Let their emotions run high about something. Now, for example, I was not going to talk about this at all. But when I look at social media and South African pastors empathizing with what happened in America about this young man, Charlie Kirk, being killed, and people are, riled up about how can you do that against Christian values. And listen to me, it's an orchestrated event set up to create collective effervescence. But what that effervescence does is it takes your eye off what they're doing secretly. And it facilitates their ability to bring things in without your eyes focused on it. The watchers, God told us that Satan is wise. So we have to be smarter than him because we are the great light. Now, if I don't point these things out to the people that follow me, they can be swallowed up with that unnecessary emotional charge. Now, I'm going to give you the definition of the word Christ. I want you to pay attention to that definition. Christ derives from the Greek word Christos, meaning anointed one or anointed. So when I say somebody is Christ, like they are anointed like Christ. And so Christ actually means anointed. That's what it means. Jesus anointed. That's what Jesus Christ actually is. And this is why Jesus made this statement that you must be careful and watch out for false Christs and false teachers. So he wanted you to watch out for people that were calling themselves anointed, but were actually not. That's what false Christ, false anointed saviors. And so I want you to understand what that means. There will be many false Christs. This was Jesus' words. There will be many people who call themselves anointed but are not. That's what he was saying. And if you don't see how collective effervescence works, you will be blind to what's happening. I want to introduce you to a term that I taught you many, many years ago. It was regarding Solomon and the demons that he trapped using the signet ring. And when they were released from their captivity, it started off the Freemason movement. And according to the Esoteric Freemason website, I want to read to you a definition of a term. Freemason master builder. Now this term master builder is only synonymous with Freemasonry. You cannot associate master builder with any other group or entity. It is primarily Freemasonry. So let me read what it is. Freemasonry is an ancient and honorable fraternity. This is what they tell us, whose members are known as master builders. This is a member of the Freemason group is called a master builder. The master builder is a title bestowed upon those who have demonstrated their commitment to the principles of Freemasonry and to their brothers in craft. Freemasonry has been in existence for centuries, and its members have had a profound influence on the development of our society. Now we're talking about watchers and their children here. The master builder is a title of great respect, honoring members who have contributed significantly to the advancement of Freemasonry by their dedication and hard work. The master builder is a symbol of excellence and dedication to the craft, exemplifying leadership qualities, dedication to service, and devotion to the cause of Masonry. Now remember this term, let me just remind you, Solomon trapped a bunch of demons who were actually the fallen angels that came from the watchers. He trapped them into people, inside of people. And he made these demons build the temple of Solomon. They were bond masons at that time. Now, masonry had to do with building, to build something. You know, I shared with you this before. And so they were bond masons. When they left Solomon and when he died and so forth, they were released. They now be known as Freemasons. And their skill is master builder, because they were builders by trade. But in today's scenario, they're using the term master builder because those people contribute to the people in the world. They're building, so-called building of people. Building of the agenda of Masonry. So, just so that you have that as a background, I want you to see at Charlie Kirk's memorial service, Donald Trump gives a term to Charlie Kirk, and let's see what he says.
Very well, and so immediately that Charlie was actually a master builder of people.
And now, it must be remembered that that term master builder is dedicated for one type of community, Freemasons. Now, I want you to listen to Candace Owens. When she brings out certain things, it's facts, but I want you to listen to the shift of the narrative and what she calls herself. Let's listen.
Those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Yes, you heard right. She's a Mason of Turning Point. And it wouldn't surprise you that years ago, they were part of the same organization. Even up till today, she's on that website. And you'll see the hand symbol of Masonry. So there's no left, there's no right, it's all a game. Now, in 2016, Donald Trump became president. I want to show you how the Iliad was set up, how the Watchers created a collective effervescence among the people of the Americas. They knew, the people started to distrust the government. This man in 2016 knew, well, the Iliad knows, the Watchers know what's going on, they know what people feel, they know what riles people up. So they wanted to create a man, set up a man who will talk directly to the frustrations of the people. We do not trust the government. The man comes in and says, the government cannot be trusted. We need to drain the swamp of all these filthy people in government. And the people became collectively effervescent. They started to gather together in the tens of thousands at the rallies. Then he came out and said, listen, the borders, illegal immigrants are coming into our country, stealing our jobs. They're committing crime. And the normal people who are law-abiding people are riled up. Yes, you are right. And so they created collective effervescence in 2016. That won him the election. But having won that election, there was not one person he accused of being filthy in government that got arrested, including Hillary, who they said is a thief. Nothing happened because it's all a game. Then in 2024, they came out with this borders thing again, and they riled people up again, and they start to say the countries are robbing us because the taxes are so low when they're importing. Listen, dumb things. If you are dumb, when you import from China and you charge China 50% to bring things into the country, China is not paying it. The people from the country that's importing it is paying it. And they are adding the cost to the groceries that you're buying. And you as a people are actually paying it. But the people, that, because they're not smart, they were riled up, effervescent against the agenda of whoever was in power, and they put him back in power again. So I want you to see the ebb and flow of effervescence and how it works and how they rile people up. In this country, South Africa as well, in any country, they will create a scenario where people blood boils together, but after everything happens, nothing changes. It's all this. Have you not noticed? Nothing changes. You change government, the agenda still says the same. Nothing improves. Now that should open people's eyes to see what a game the watchers are playing with us. Now because I'm teaching you this, it's an opportunity for you to remove yourself from the matrix agenda. What they want you to feel, what they want you to believe, what they want you to do, because if you so ingrained in the matrix, you cannot get out. There was this child trafficking thing with Jeffrey Epstein, and he's been accused of being a spy for another country, for blackmailing politicians, and all these rumors that were going on. And the man that was linked most heavily to those files was Donald Trump himself. And so that effervescence that the MAGA, Make America Great movement had, it's now fizzling away. And people are starting to lose confidence. Because why is this man not releasing the files? Why is he getting his FBI and the Justice Department to say there's no names? Why? And so everything is falling apart now. That effervescence is gone, that bubble is gone. So how are we going to rule for the next few years if the support we have is gone? So what they have to do, they have to create an event that creates collective effervescence so that we forget about all the other things and our focus is on this thing that has happened. And we all have the same emotionally charged energy. And then they have this event play out like it's real. And I can tell you now it's not real. Now, I have some very exposing clips that I wanted to play for you. But as I looked through the week, they were just getting removed from Facebook, from X. They were just getting removed. Clear evidence that this whole thing that happened was an act. Let me first tell you this. You see people like Candace, people like Tucker Carlson, all Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all these people. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Let me ask you this. You have your Facebook and you put your face there and you smile and you put something very interesting there. Most hits you'll probably get is 200, 300 likes. You won't even get followers from there. You can say the most interesting things. I mean, I've got a platform, a YouTube, I've got all these other platforms. You'll never amass more than 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, maybe that's amount. But these guys, Candace Owens, Tucker, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million followers. How do you think that happens? You as an ordinary person, you'll never, you have to have a backing. You have to have somebody in the tech world, and they probably use these tech bots, these bot farms where they push and create people talking like it's real. Listen, these are the people that you don't see with your eyes what's happening. You start to follow them because you say, hey, there's such a great following, so many people are following them, there must be something good. No, it's a setup. Let me show you this. These people that run platforms that have 5 million, 10 million followers, they are given the ability by the technocrats to run platforms that look very successful, money backing them. And what they want these guys to do is to draw people's attention to create an effervescence in a certain area. Some people will talk about government failures. Others will talk about Israel. Others will talk about, just to get people excited, moved. But you'll never hear them talking about the agenda of the 2030 about digital ID, about carbon footprint. All these things will be only spoken about by people who don't have great followings, just ordinary people like you and I. The ones that really have power with a lot of followers and influence, they will never talk on those topics. So I want you to notice this. Now, Charlie Kirk himself, he received more than $150 million from Israel. I want you to look at the donor list. Known Jewish and or Israeli linked donors. The donors are publicly identified through IRS filings, media investigations. These are the people. The donor, Bernard Marcus, you can see who he is, billionaire, 2.5 million in 1 year alone. You'll get depot founder, and you'll get Isaac Perlmutter, a Marvel CEO who he is. He's born in there, and undisclosed multi-million-dollar gifts. $65,000 by Community Federation of San Francisco, the Jewish community. National Christian Foundation, that the Jews used to channel money through, 20 to 30 million. If you can read on your right and see it there. The other Zionists, 1.2 million. And the list is incomplete, I'm giving you. But this is how much of money that is backing this man. And if you listen to his conversations, there's nothing spectacular. It is just a normal man sitting and trying to have a debate with half-truths, half an understanding. He even said the word, the Bible now, is the word unalterated. Very true. Nothing wrong with it. Who put that together? I've been teaching you that so long. You will even look at Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Candace is married to a Jesuit Catholic, declared a Catholic now. Tucker Carlson is a Catholic. And I told you a few weeks ago, the capital where all these things are run, London, Rome, and Washington, D.C. So I want you to understand the depth that this, to create collective effervescence, how deep it runs, how much money they put into it. And so they want Christians to follow this man, give him the biggest, but in order to create an even bigger following, bigger effervescence, something dramatic has to have happened. And if we publicly create an uproar amongst the Christian community, they'll forget about the Epstein thing. It's a diversion, because what's going to happen now while they are focused on this godly man that passed away, they're focused on that, they're doing some other things that they don't want these people to notice. And what are those things? We'll get to that. So as I said, they got various people set up on platforms with large followings, and each talking to the group of people that have a common interest, targeting them, creating excitement amongst them. And you're not interested in this, we'll create another platform for someone that's interested in this. And we create another one for someone that's talking about this. And so collectively, they keep people's minds in the matrix, involved in the happenings of the world, so that they don't see the agenda. You see, let me put it this way to you. Whenever you speak meaningful truth, you will never have a following as large as what these people got. When you speak meaning, things that mean something. For example, Noah was talking about spiritual things, about the flood that's coming. How many followers did he have? I think part of his family too didn't even follow, but God saved them by grace because they were related to Noah and they needed to repopulate. But nobody listened to him. So when you have meaning, even Jesus, they only were listening because he could give them something. And then 500 were in the upper room or in Jerusalem. All of them disappeared except 120. And the number fizzled as time went on. Because truth is difficult to handle. Truth is very hard to digest. And many people don't want to hear truth because it upsets them, because it pushes them off center. And so you'll find that even when you listen to my teachings, you know stuff, and you try to tell people, instead of people gathering to listen, they scatter like you're some kind of a lunatic. Now this drip agenda of the watchers, they don't want it to come into the front line of news and to create an uproar amongst people. No, so they distract. All these things are distractions. Because what's happening right now, they won't put it out there, but right now in South Africa, for example, the Daily Investor tells us the Standard Bank branches are going cashless across South Africa. On the 14th of August, this article is. So most branches are now not even going to be dispensing or taking in cash. It's a drip effect. Slowly, they're getting people used to it. In South Africa, for example, you'll find that they got now, by law, by October, the government wants new rules regarding electricity. What are the new electricity regulations? The new South African electricity laws, coming into effect October, introduce several mandatory requirements, no exceptions, for all citizens. At their core, these regulations aim to reduce national energy consumption by 30% within 5 years. This is the agenda. This is the fake story they want to say. Every household will be required to install smart meters. These meters are dangerous, to say the least, that communicate directly with the national grid, allowing for real-time monitoring and management of electricity usage. Additionally, all homes must undergo an energy-efficient audit, with properties falling below the minimum efficiency rating facing potential penalties. This is that climate change, sustainable development agenda of the World Economic Forum. The most controversial aspect involved mandatory load limitation devices that will automatically restrict power during peak periods, ensuring more equitable distribution across the grid. I've noticed in the article it says that these regulations also include financial incentives for compliance. Households that meet efficiency targets will receive rebates on their monthly bills, while those exceeding their allocated consumption limits will face significantly higher tariffs. Listen, these people using this, they can cut you off at any time. It's a drip effect of totalitarianism. The watchers want to control the people. Now, you see, the only way to control people is to control the money. But they have to be biologically identified so that the money is linked to their wallet, which is digital, which is linked to their identity. So they have to do this. But you know what they do? They create a migration crisis. They create the problem, and then, for example, Brit card, smart ID, real ID is all solutions to the problem of illegal migration. And so they create the open borders and people come in, and those people start to get sick. They have to use the country's medical facilities, which makes they put a financial strain on the health system, which makes it difficult for normal citizens to go to the hospital and get decent treatment. Monies are all being used by illegal people that are coming in to the countries around the world. And when they come in, they take jobs away. When they come in, they create they want you to think that these are criminals. They start to kill people. They start to murder and rape people. And so it becomes a danger to the nation in which they're coming. But the solution to that problem, according to the Brit card that is being voted on, I think tomorrow, the excuse is we'll have a control over migration. Illegal immigrants won't be able to get a job. Right now, they've got employers that have to look at ID, and if they don't have ID, why give them a job? But they're working. So what gives you the idea that these employers won't register them? But the cards of biological identity cards are used as an excuse. The excuse is we want to stop illegal immigration, we want to stop people from outside the country taking our jobs, and so the people got excited about these sort of things. They riled them up beforehand. Illegal aliens are coming, illegal people are coming, and so the people got riled up. Now we're bringing a solution, you'll need to eat this up. And so this is how they create effervescence, and they create a problem, and then they create a solution to it. Now you have to, the solution is going to be good for us. Now what Donald Trump does, he says at the United Nations, he spoke this week past, he says to Europe, all of your nations are going to hell. Why? Because of illegal immigration. Now what they're going to do is, because of that speech now, it's an agenda of the United Nations, they're going to start to implement ID cards throughout the world. And they've done it, I showed you in several, and they're going to start to make it mandatory now. So he says that with one voice. Then he comes out in the same speech, he says this, let's listen.
Announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that.
Listen, he says it's dangerous, but it's going to be good. And we need to use it for good. What? Biological identification. And so the AI agenda continues, but don't look at that too much. You look at Charlie Kirk. You look at getting riled up about all that. You look at this and you look at that, but these kind of things, we put it in the back burners. Don't look at it. We're not bringing it out. Now, when Charlie Kirk got murdered, an article tells us that a private jet disabled its location monitoring system while departing from Provo Airport. That's 12 minutes from where the university is. 1 hour after this man was assassinated. The jet is owned by Derek Maxfield, a wealthy donor to the Shabbat Lubavitch of Utah. Charlie Kirk said this. Yes, in general, black people don't have processing power. They steal the jobs of white people, because white people are the only people that are qualified to do jobs. Riling up, creating an effervescence among a certain group of people that feel the same way.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
In this videos, you'll see almost like a holographic video of a chair going through a table. I don't know if Nicole can play it. I'm just praying that maybe slowly you can show frame by frame how the chair goes through, because if we play the entire video, you know what will happen. Then there's a trap door right there under the stage. Now they covered the trap door up. They put, one day after the event, they repaved the whole thing. It's a crime scene. You have to mark the crime scene off. The only time you do these things is when there's no crime scene. You have to have a police tape around it. And the local police and sheriff's office need to be involved, not the FBI, but the FBI are involved. There's a whole lot of listen, I don't want to get into it, but the point of the matter is, don't be sold on this thing. That's why I mentioned false anointed ones. Anointed ones, anointed ones. Jesus said there will be many false Christs. Now this is what the podcasters are. False saviors. Trump, false saviors. Ones that look anointed to represent your voice. Listen to what I'm saying now. They create the effervescence. Because these people are speaking what my heart is feeling, so I'm with them. As an energy behind me, I'm supporting them. And so all different avenues, people. That's why Jesus said, many false Christs will come in my name. The name of Jesus. Yeshua. They'll come in my name. They'll use my name. Candace Owens, Catholic. Tucker Carlson, Catholic. Charlie Kirk, the new one is coming. The wife that's taking over. Using my name. False saviors. Not truly anointed. Using my name. There'll be many in the last days. So I'm pointing this out so that you don't get mesmerized by this whole things that are playing out in front of you. Amongst other things, there are glitches. The t-shirt, there's a word F that's missing. It just disappears, comes back. There's some kind of a gadget underneath his t-shirt. It comes up and moves to his neck and it goes out. And there's a whole lot of things that just don't make sense. Even the shooter, poor fellow man, 22 years old, apparently they're blaming him. Standing on top of a roof, he has the ability to assemble a very complicated rifle, take a pot shot 200 yards, one shot and it's done. And then he disassembles it. It was very hard to do, by the way. And then he jumps down with it from very high building, runs, and then he pushes it back together. He wraps it in a towel and leave it for the FBI to find. What a mad story that is. I mean, you see, but nobody is saying the fake thing, including Tucker, including Candace, including anybody else. They're not saying it's fake. They're saying it really happened, because that's where they want your attention.
You're going to get the ability to kind of put holograms in the world. I think in the not too distant future, this should be blended together, right? You'll have like the physical world, but all this digital stuff should just basically be holograms. In the future, we'll have AI coworkers. Those people won't even, they're not even people. They wouldn't be able to be embodied. So if you're having a physical meeting, you're sitting around with a bunch of people, they couldn't show up as like, you know, part of the team no matter what. But I think like we'll get to a point where just like your friend can show up in a hologram, and like your AI colleagues will be able to also. But in the future, we're like not that many years away from being able to have a virtual meeting where like, you know, it's like I'm not here physically, it's just my hologram. Yeah. And like it just feels like we're there and we're physically present. We're thinking about how few of the things that we physically have in the world actually need to be physical.
So with that context in mind, take a look at this.
So the first thing I want you to notice is there's this dot right here on Charlie's shirt, and it literally jumps up to the neck. Let's watch that again. Okay, so here's that weird, interesting dot. And then it just moves over on his shirt and then up, okay? First thing, now I want you to watch the F on his shirt. It disappears into thin air and then reappears again. Watch it very carefully here. Gone. Back. The third thing is the hair. Watch it glitch out here. One more time, watch closely here. Okay.
Look at the ring on his ring finger. When he was shot, it ends up on his pinky finger. Watch the ring on his finger. It moves from his middle finger down to his pinky. His middle finger down to his pinky. AI.
Performers are holograms.
Every series, we take one step closer to achieving all of the sci-fi dreams that I've ever dreamed of.
It's pretty cool. You'll never have to miss a gig again. The gig can come to you. where the interaction between the musicians and the audience would be as natural as two people being in the same room.
It's incredible that this really is a remote live gig. The signal from London takes less than a third of a second to go all the way around the world and be projected as a hologram on the stage in the US. As well as the hologram making it feel like the band are actually in the room with the audience.
Now we look at the wife that's taken over the organization, just to show you the false Christ that we're dealing with. The Hindustan Times shows us this. I mean, firstly, you can see the hand sign. It has something very, very important. I also got imagery of the necklace that she was wearing. It's a mason necklace. It's a necklace in the shape of masonry. I want you to watch this little clip now. I hope they don't just take it out because it's so powerful. Everywhere they're removing the information about this young lady. Not young lady, this woman. They're removing it. So if you manage to get the video and watched it, as Nicole would have played it, it's a fact. She used to work with the Department of Defense, that's Pentagon, as a director of a church in Romania. The same woman. And during the time she was in Romania with this evangelical church running it, the local people were accusing the organization of children going missing. And there was evidence in local newspapers that the children that went missing were found in Israel and the United Kingdom, and they were found in several private islands around the world. Does it ring a bell? But let's look even deeper. The same woman, when she was young, she took part in 2012 in the Miss Arizona pageant, Miss United States Arizona pageant. Who owned that pageant? Donald Trump. So he knew her from a very long time. And listen, the whole thing is a organized plot. I want you to open the eyes so you can see.
In Miss USA, a pageant owned by ... Trump. Okay, want to know something really weird? So she had said in a podcast that she had never competed in pageants and had never done any modeling before, until one day she receives an invitation in the mail to become a model and start doing pageants. And the pageants that she started doing were Miss USA pageants owned by Trump. So she modeled for Trump. She was one of Trump's pageant girls. But did you know that she was also a casting director at the same time that she was doing all of this stuff for Trump? Now, she doesn't specify on her website if she worked as a casting director for Trump, but around the time that she was claiming to be a casting director, she also owned a ministry that was working with the U.S. military in Romania. The area in Romania where she was operating this ministry had a bunch of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in the UK, in Israel, and were also being sent to undisclosed private islands. Locals demanded authorities look into it, but they never did. Now, Charlie Kirk really wanted the Epstein files released, but did his wife? Prior to marrying Charlie Kirk, she was a multi-millionaire on her own, and since his passing, she's also amassed all of his wealth plus an additional at least $5 million in donations. She's currently considered the most powerful woman in the United States, with mega fans begging her to run as vice president in 2028. Let's talk about their first date, because it was actually a job interview. Back in 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump had started working with Charlie Kirk had hosted a Turning Point USA opening event for one of the offices that they had opened. And Erica and Charlie Kirk were introduced to each other. Charlie Kirk instantly thought that she was beautiful, but thought that she was really smart. And allegedly, one of their mutuals had suggested that Charlie Kirk hire Erica. I'm assuming it was Donald Trump or someone on his team, because Donald Trump had signed on to work with Charlie Kirk, and Erica was already one of Donald Trump's employees. So it would make the most sense for Donald Trump and his team to encourage Charlie Kirk to hire Donald Trump's employees. Anyways, Charlie Kirk DM'd Erica, invited her for a job interview. The job interview ended up turning into a date, and Erica allegedly had said, "You're not going to be my boss. You're going to..."
Matthew 24:5. Let's read what Jesus. For many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. Right now in the world, how many people you think are deceived by the many anointed ones that are around them, including people standing on the pulpit? How many? And yet Jesus warns us about this. You see, the only way for you not to fall for this trap is to emotionally remove yourself from the world and its events. So you cannot be dragged into fake effervescence, collective effervescence with the crowd. You need to pull emotionally away from the happenings of this world. Jesus taught the disciples that. One man was doing evil to him, just let it go. One man is shouting this, even if they're shouting what you believe, just let it go. Don't be emotionally attached, because the more emotionally you're attached to the world, the less chance of you finding the escape out of this matrix. The channel to God. Oh man, next week, I've been promising you that I'm going to share this with you, but it's so powerful. If you can only join me next week, I'm going to teach you some very powerful things. But this week, I just wanted to open your eyes so you can see what is materializing in the world, and so you don't get pulled like a magnet to issues. Now I want to pray with you. Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us enlightenment, for opening our minds, for distancing the world from our spirits, keeping us safe in the arms that you provide in the shape of our souls, that we can rest in you. Cover us with your blood, my God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. God bless you, beloved. I pray that I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.